Yeah, so I'm a little skeptical on these type of merges and these type of things in the near term, mainly because investor sentiment is the number one thing that rules price, right? So
Yep.
yes, this is probably keeping people from shorting it right now. They don't want to step in front of a freight train if it takes off.
Right.
We've seen an amazingly big bounce in Ethereum, but the one thing I'm seeing here, and I'll flip over to my chart and show, is that basically we have this kind of bullish consolidation. So you do see a bull flag forming. This is a very
Yep.
clear bull flag. Now, I don't want to see this candle break down too much. Right now, it's right at the lower end of that flag. But basically, the upside is somewhat limited here. I mean, there's the first resistance level, which is right here around 1700. So we're not too far away from that. And then even if it gets through 1700, around 1900 is the next big resistance level. So I'm in the camp where I look at this and I say, okay, yes, there's some upside left. And I believe that Bitcoin, Ethereum, they will see upside. But you could actually maybe see the run occurring into the merge and then a sell the news event. And I think that is the
Hmm.
likely scenario here, where maybe we get to 1900 and then once you see that merge occur, then the selling takes back over.
Following a week of steady losses, crypto prices have turned a bullish corner in the last day, and traders shorting Bitcoin and Ethereum have been caught out. The positive price movement puts the total market capitalization just above 1.05 trillion, a 7.15 rise over the past 24 hours. Hello and welcome to Money Talks. In today's video, popular crypto analyst and strategist in the moneystocks.com, Gareth Soloway, takes a look at the sentiment and technical analysis of the Bitcoin market, why 28,000 could be a significant level for all investors, and whether or not we will see more short-term games, or are we facing massive volatility ahead of FOMC meeting again. If you like the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the post notifications. So without wasting any more time, let's dive right into the video.
So basically what we have is we had a breakout on Bitcoin in the near term right here. And you
Yep.
saw a close above with a confirming move following it. And what we've done since then is you've kind of created this little bit of a channel of consolidation right here, which is actually, I mean, a lot of investors say, oh my goodness, we've been down, pretty much 2, 4, 5 days out of the last 6 on Bitcoin. But notice how it's a very slow kind of grind lower. Today it's getting a little bit more fast, but for the most part, this is actually what we would refer to in the technical analysis world as bullish consolidation. And so what I'm really watching is this 21.8-ish level. I want to see where it closes. It can close just below that, but you don't want to see it trade down in this range too much longer before it starts to move up. But I'm in the camp that over the next, rest of July into August, I think Bitcoin still has more upside to go. I'm looking at a target of 25.5, which is up here. And then
Yep.
eventually I even think we could get as high as around 28.5 or so right up here. This is kind of my max move though. This downsloping trend line comes all the way from the all-time high. So notice how these two lines are right in the same area. So I think that, again, that would be your maximum upside. Your shorter term target would be 25.5. So I am bullish near term on Bitcoin, even though I'm midterm bearish.
Bitcoin rose above 23,000, following stocks higher after the US Federal Reserve raised interest rates but suggested the pace of hikes could slow. Cryptocurrencies have quite correlated to US stocks, in particular the Nasdaq, which on Wednesday jumped 4%. On Wednesday, the Fed raised its benchmark interest rate by 0.75 percentage points as it looks to fight rampant inflation without tipping the economy into recession. But the central bank's chair, Jerome Powell, suggested that the pace of rate rises could slow, which sparked an equity rally on Wednesday, which has fed through to the European and Asian trading on Thursday.
Yeah, so I think number one for me is a weakening dollar. I think also if the Fed on Wednesday is not as hawkish, if let's say they open the door to saying, hey, we're going to slow down, maybe we're going to
Okay.
pause, that would be a risk on scenario where all of a sudden you see this risk on in the stock market, NASDAQ stocks get another leg up, and that would also lead to another move up in Bitcoin. So I think the
Yeah.
weakening dollar would kind of coincide with that as well. We see those type of things move together. The more dovish the Fed, the more they're not tightening monetary supply, so the dollar doesn't necessarily get stronger. So for me, that's exactly it. The Fed decision Wednesday, GDP on Thursday, those would be the driving forces that would probably lift Bitcoin.
The conclusion of Wednesday's Fed meeting opens up a summer window for a Bitcoin relief rally, given we now have 2 months until policymakers next deliberate on monetary policy. Bitcoin is attempting to stage a sustained rally after several failed attempts this month. The world's largest cryptocurrency has been trading within a range of 20,000 to just over 24,000 since mid-June after a brutal crash this year wiped off 50% of its value. The next 24 hours will be a true test of Bitcoin's rediscovered resilience after it shrugged its shoulders at this month's stellar US inflation data and didn't wince when Tesla announced that it sold most of its Bitcoin holdings.
Yeah, I don't read into it as a bearish signal. If anything, I kind of look at it in a contrarian view, is where you had one of the big whales holding, I think, $1 billion of Bitcoin. He unloaded a majority of his stake. And, if we've already seen that being distributed into the system, into the Bitcoin market, and investors have bought that up, maybe that's a small positive in all fairness, that the market was able to absorb that. And I know we have, some other, I think Mt. Gox might dump 150,000 Bitcoin. I want to see the market, the Bitcoin market, absorb that. Maybe it goes down a little bit, but if it can absorb those type of sells, then what it tells you is even in a bear market, there are still buyers out there. And that's a very longer term bullish sign, even if it's not a very short term bullish sign.
Tesla said last week that it had sold 75% of its Bitcoin holdings. The cryptocurrency market has been battered this year with billions of dollars being wiped off as macroeconomic issues have taken their toll and companies have imploded. Two high-profile examples are crypto lending platform Celsius and hedge fund Three Arrows Capital, which have both filed for bankruptcy and brought many investors down with them.
I think that's what it is. It's just political. It's not good to have, federal government says recession and you have that plastered on all the newspapers out there and all the websites. So I think that's what they're trying to avoid. I think it's a little foolish. I've always found, and this goes to what I do as a trader, and when I mess up, the best thing you can do is just say, hey, listen, this is where it is. This is how we have to deal with it. And let's charge forward and correct it, or at least, move in the right direction. So I really think, the investing public, the public in general, they have to give more credit. There's more intelligence out there. People understand where things are because it's dollars and cents. And we know the price of energy. We know the price of food. We know the price of goods and homes and all these things. And it's a struggle for most people. I would say the one thing I would do if I was them, I would classify as different groups, right? So for instance, myself, I'm not in a recession myself. I mean, again, I think upper middle income, you're fine. I think it would be helpful if the government came out and said, hey, listen, if you're in this group of earners, yes, you are in a recession and we are going to do everything we can to help you, but not everyone needs the help. Yeah, so you're right. I mean, moving averages historically have played a big role. I follow the 20 moving average, the 50 to 200. I know a lot of people follow the 100 and the 150 as well. And basically, I don't know if there's something psychological that makes us as humans abide by some rules about like the past 20 days, which is the 20-day moving average, or if it's just that we all have it on our charts now and we're all like, oh, look at that. And when you have a million people saying the 20 MA is being hit or it's breaking, that can psychologically trigger more selling if it's breaking versus if it's holding. So I'm not 100% sure about the underlying powers of the moving averages. It's just something that historically has always worked until it doesn't, right? Until it breaks.
And when it comes to Bitcoin price action, commentators were thus cautiously optimistic while waiting for the last remnants of volatility to clear the market. Bitcoin thus had to match its overnight highs and hold them to asset a change of trend. On-chain analytics resource Material Indicators, meanwhile, eyed what it described as a strong long signal on the daily close, something which was in the process of strengthening the short-term bull case.
I think it does in some respects. So what I look at it when it goes to cold storage, kind of like that, is that, when people bought it at 60,000 and it's down at 20 or 19 or 18, there's going to be a point where they're like, listen, I'm just going to tuck this away. I'm a long-term hodler. And then as soon as price starts to spike, which is what we've seen recently, they're all of a sudden like, oh my goodness, maybe I should bring it back, because if I can just get back to 60,000, I'll sell and break even. That would be an amazing recovery. So it's a very psychological thing. And I agree that you just can't say, okay, there's a lot of storage going on off the exchanges, so that means people are just diehard going to hold forever, because mentality and psychology of the investor can change on a dime. And you know that. I know you know that. Yeah, I think that's the key is if you saw selling going into it, then I would believe that you have a much more bullish case. It's almost like earnings, right? So like a company that runs up 50% into earnings, they might beat the earnings estimates, they might raise guidance. And I've seen many, many instances where the stock still sells off because it had such a big run into those earnings. So I would say the same thing with Ethereum. Right now, Ethereum has rallied up towards this. If it continues to move up into it, I would expect a sell-off on that event. However, if you see the opposite occur where it starts selling off back to $1,000 or so, then I think the opposite could easily happen.
So do you think Bitcoin rally is over or not? Tell us in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.